Hmm. Okay, I'm live. We're going live here in a second.
You want to Susie over here?
Yeah, she's okay. She likes to nestle in here.
Okay. I apologize in advance if I'm too noisy. He's running
You're
upstairs to the bathroom.
you're fine.
Sleepy.
Okay, and we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Dwarven Tavern. Welcome to the Dwarven Tavern. I am your host, Dr. Jeff Goins, and this time I'm going to be talking about a brand new program that I just discovered. I know it's not a brand new program, but it is new to me, so that counts. It is called Dungeon Painter Studio, and I have been a pretty devout campaign cartographer guy for low unto these past few decades. I think it came out like 20 years ago, something like that. Version one. I've been using it since it came out in version one. Um, and I still enjoy it. Don't get me wrong; it is not it is not cast by the wayside by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but uh, this program, I saw a few examples of what it can do, and immediately requested a review of it. And they sent me the key, and here it is. And I'm going to go over the various virtues of the program, just to show you what it's like. Now you can see I've got it here on my screen, and it's you can see the user interface up in there, up in that jazz. It's really super simple, but that doesn't mean that it's basic, I guess. Um, it has the up here on the toolbar. I'll go over the toolbar here so you can see what's going on. It's got the move key, which you can hit escape to get to the move key. Um, the rectangle selection, the rotate control, and it's even under the heading of controls. Um, and then you've got the scale, so you can change how big things are. Imagine. Okay. Then it has grounds and floors. It's got rectangle and ellipse. And I'll draw a quick rectangle here for you. Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And that's all these various textures down here at the bottom. Um, and it's just a simple matter of clicking and dragging. Okay. Simple boxes. The ellipse tool, very similar to that. It's just a click and draggable ellipse that fills the ellipse inside the shape of this here rectangle, as you can see. Um, and so, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Then it's got the polygon, which, for unusual shapes. And you hit the escape key, and that takes you away. Let's see. So if I want to draw a thing like that, I get back to the beginning. You have to take it back to the beginning So see, I started right there, and I click and drag and click and drag and click and drag, and make whatever shape I choose, and you can double click, does nothing. You can right click, does nothing. But when you take it back to the original point that you started, that's when it fills the selection, and there you go. Although right click does do something. When you right click, that is a quick way to move your map. See? So if I draw a quick little shape here, and then I right click and move, and then of course the mouse wheel will zoom for you. So there's that. Super intuitive. If you can't figure it out, try a few little things, and something will probably work. And so that makes the learning curve uh, like almost like a straight line because it's so easy to learn. Now this is called the puddle, and it's basically a vector based spline. And if you're not familiar with that term, it's just a vertice based shape with uh, chamfered, bless you, chamfered or uh, beveled edges, and so you can make a square like so, and when you take it up to the beginning, it's just a chamfered square. Um, so you can create some pretty cool shapes with that. And then you have the terrain, which is a paintbrush. And you can see up here in the corners, you've got the various size brushes. Like let's pick a neat texture like Stone's Bee. Okay, and that is I mean, it depends on what you're painting. Um, it if it's a small brush, like you can paint in very small areas with a fair amount of detail. I don't think I have the patience for that. Um, but you can take it all the way up to a large brush. And it just looks like you're looking through the fog of war when you move the brush around, and then when you brush it, it makes a nice little path for you, and it's just super easy to use, super cool, um, and trying not to make it look like a dick, um, but and I failed. Um, so yeah, that's the foregrounds and floors uh, looks. Now again, this is just the tool basics that I have discovered. Now notice, take note that I have not looked over any instructions or anything. So I'm going into this with just a tiny little bit of experience with the program. Um, and so if as Niji has asked me, see if I can make it with a water texture. So I'm going to go through these Explorer and see if I can't find some water type texture like so. And here's our radiant pool of water. Um, nice little pool, nice little pond. There we also have a very definite size pond, and our polygon we can take and make a nice little whatever shape, and it's all done with the click of a button, and you can. One of the things I was going to wait until later to show this, but it's just too cool to ignore for long. Is over here on the right hand side of the screen, we've got our layers, our effects, and our back and grid. I'm not going to touch the back and grid or the layers just yet, but the effects are so simple and so easy to use. You can apply a long shadow to something that's selected, such as this guy here. You can apply a long shadow, medium shadow, a short shadow. You can give it a bevel. Did you notice? Did you see the beveling that went on there? Um, uh, then you give it an orange light, which just surrounds it, or you can give it a yellow light or an orange light. And of course, orange with the blue makes the green, as you can see. Um, and then there is that. And then when you select the move tool, it gives you a different set of commands up here, like flip vertical. I'll flip that vertical. See how it flips it. And horizontal, super easy. Um, then you can do like a union where uh, you've got these two guys, and you can do a union, which puts them together. Um, the subtract. Well, let's undo that union, shall we? There we go. And it should, unless I'm doing it wrong, subtract A from B, but it's not. So I'll figure that out later. Um, Not something that I would want to do a whole lot anyway. So we're just going to ignore that for the moment. Um, and so as you can see, the undo just it goes and goes. Um, so it very much is stupid cool. Then with cobblestones everywhere. Um, so that is the floors, and I'm going to grab all this stuff with the selection marquee and delete it. Super easy to do, as you can see. Um, then I'm going to go on to, well, let's see. First thing I'm going to do is I want to take we're going to make a mat here, and I'm going to make something that's hopefully easy to see. Let's go with a being dwarfy. I like stones, so the stone tessellation is I don't know. Most tessellations to me are kind of annoying. Uh, just from the when you zoom way out, it gives you that super tessellation pattern. Imagine. Um, but you can still see the grid. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go over the grid um, tab over here on the right hand side of the tool set, and you can have boxes or hexes. Can you see that? Can you see the boxes and hexes? It's not very bright against this background. So what I'll do is I will adjust the transparency. Look at that. And you can see now that it's boxes or hexes. and you can have it as lines or dots, just depending on what your preference is. So hexes with dots looks like that. We'll stick with boxes and lines because that's your general dungeon pattern. And what you can do, if you want to change this at any point in time, you can. So you can make it really opaque, and so you can see the hexes at first, and then you can, when you're going to print it out or whatever, if you want it to look super cool or whatever, you can adjust the hexes down to minimal or even invisible. Uh, if you're doing a battle map, I would suggest keeping the hexes and squares around the same. Uh, Around 50% is a good look. The other option here, we have two options up here. One is stick to the grid, which makes things literally stick to the grid. Um, Allow half is a cool one because it allows you to make smaller grid things that's actually half the size of the grid. So you can do stuff like that, which is very cool and very useful. Okay, so bring that transparency back up there a little bit so we can see what's going on. Now, the next thing that I wanted to show you is the walls. Um, when you click on a tool, it automatically takes you down here to the appropriate textures, which is um, to me it's very useful. Some people may not like being told what to do, where to go. You know, I know there's a lot of people don't like to be told where to go, but I tell them. So if you wanted to do a wall, a wooden wall, you would get it started with a click, and then there it is. Okay. Um, so it may or may not look like a lot to you right now, but there it is. Now hit the escape key. As you can see, the escape is it takes you to the move tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the rectangular selection. I'm going to give it a drag. Okay, and you can see the control handles for everything has been selected. Then I'm going to go to the effects and I'm going to apply a long shadow. And lo and behold, looky there, we got us, we got us a lost, there it is. There it is. Remember that right click gets you it's like hitting the space bar in Photoshop. It gives you the zoom. And go to the back and grid. I'm going to take the transparency down just a little bit so we see better what's going on. And we have us a nice little room or a little structure, and it's somewhat uh, longer than it is tall. And then I'll go to the layers, and you can see that all of these layers, the wood wall they are selected. So you can click on it. You can do the rectangle selection, or also known as the selection marquee. But if you wanted to, um, if you just wanted to select one or two things, you've got these layers, and every item you put on there gives it its own layer. I like that. And you can see where it is. The plot stones, right? They're on the bottom. That's where they are. If I take and I click and I drag, look at what happens. The plot stones come up over that wood wall. Same thing I do with that one, so forth and so on. So if I want to take something above or below the layers, it's visual. You can see where it lies on your map. So I like that a lot also. Um, so we've got walls of varying nature, of a varying nature. So this is the polyline, which You can create uh, polygonal um, shapes. And with the polyline, if you notice, you create the polyline and then uh, you can click, double click, and that polyline stops where you left it. You don't have to, it's not a polygon, it's a polyline. And so, so I'll go here and I'll select this guy, go back to the effects, apply the long shadow, put that in there, and there it is. Now, then you've got the arc, which is the, it's kind of like, well, how can I describe it? It's a 3-point arc. So if I wanted to make this an arc here, right, I would click here, I would click there, and then I would go up here to where I wanted it to reside, and then make that third click, and that's where our arc lies. So it's a 3-point arc, and then I'll also apply the long shadow to that to give us a nice little thingy there. Then you can also experiment with the various uh, textures, which these hand painted textures are just really cool. Um, so I will do this and here, and then create a stone outer wall for this one, and also give it a shadow. I like the shadows; they're very cool. And so you've got like a defensive tower or whatever on the outside of that. And of course, Control Z will take you out. It will undo things. I don't know why it went back that far, but it'll undo it. Um, Now, the other objects are incredibly cool because if you look down here, uh, you've got your long list of basic items uh, that belong. It's in the main directory of things. So that means that it would be like the things that you would most likely find in a dungeon setting, or in this case, it's more like a tavern setting. So we want to get us some double doors here, and make them appear like doors. Um, they don't open just yet, but you can move them around and such. And then perhaps we'll do where's the window? The window here. Let me go back to objects. You got to make sure you have the right tool selected. Um, so got a window. We'll put a window in here, window in there. And I believe the reason that they did that with the four little or six little like the ghostly six pack is to demonstrate where the light may be shining through. Now, um, in this instance, the shadow is probably not a good idea, just because it made you see it makes the shadows, the lights shining through the window look kind of silly. So we're gonna put us up a couple of torches. So what is Shift Q? Um, so there's a couple of torches, and of course we'll need another doorway to get into the rest of the building. So we'll do that. I don't know why I'm talking like that. I'll put another double door there just to make it there. Now, check this out. Notice how that is not really visible, and this is why. Check this out. Over here on this side, on the right, it says the object is actually below the wall. So our carpenter must have been underground. So we'll just take and drag that above the wall, and now it is indeed above the wall. So we'll apply a shadow to that, and then we'll right click and take a look and see where else we are. Now, and I do have to admit that this structure, as you can see, the joints in the walls where they meet, and that it would have probably been better if I'd have made it a polyline, just a big poly rectangle. That way the lines would have been all connected, like well, nope, that's not at all a polyline, Jeff. Here's polyline. So you go there and there and there and there, and there's your polyline, and then you give it the long shadow, and it looks like a wall, a single wall, instead of that. So just keep that in mind. So I'm gonna get rid of that guy. We don't need him, and get back to the main building. So we have this long structure, and I don't know why that happens. That's weird, but we know what it is. The wall. Let's apply that. That double door went under the wall. So now inside we want to give it some furnishings. So let's continue to let's browse. So we want to put in. Let's do a fireplace now. As you notice, the fireplace is facing the wrong direction. So what we have to do is we have to come up here and rotate it. Now that's 90 degrees, and that's 180. So we want to do 180 at this point. And I'm going to allow half so I can put it right there in the middle. Okay, and also give it a long shadow. Maybe a middle shadow. Yeah, that makes it look more detailed. And let's see, do we have any secret doors? Secret doors, perhaps. Don't see any secret doors. Um, I'm going to look around here for a sec. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But, so yeah, no, I don't see any secret doors symbols. However, just for argument's sake, I'm going to put a wee door there and make sure that it's where we can see it. I'm going to go down here to the alphabet, and I'm going to mark that as S. No, I'm going to mark it as S. And that darn door. Okay, and this is a program for gamers, so it and mappers, so it does have a lot of the things that you might expect, like it has numbers and it has letters, and you can mark things like S and M. uh, so we got our fireplace. Um, and the other thing is, if at any point in time you do not wish something to be seen, you go over here to the right on its layer, and you can mark it as uh, invisible, and the eye will close next to it. That little object, that little eye object, it'll close next to it, and you won't be able. They won't be able to see it. So if you want to print this out, then you can print it out without the things that you don't want seen. Okay, so we've got our fireplace there. Let's go over here and we'll place a where is that? Oh, a nice comfy sofa would be so lovely. We'll place a sofa here. We'll rotate it 180 so it's there. A nice sofa. Okay, and perhaps, I don't know, a dead rat. Don't know why. Um, then you've got the Fantuistico stuffed deer head over. Okay, and we'll do a couple of torches along the wall. Notice you have to keep it uh, in the proper perspective because we'll put a couple side by side like that, just for fun. Now let's see. Let's go over here, and I'm going to place another wall, and this one is going to go right here, I believe, with the appropriate long shadow. And go back to the objects, and I'm going to put in another secret door. You got to make sure you find that proper the proper twist for it. And there's the secret door, and I can also mark it with a little S there to make sure that they know it's secret, or you know it's secret. Uh, if you tell your players, "Hey, that's a secret door," then it actually isn't. And so we'll put the manhole to open like that. Do we want a shadow on that? Maybe a lesser one, sure. And then get a shadow on that too. The shadows are cool because they lend a bit of depth to the thing. Then of course, wherever there's a circle, there has to be something in the middle of it. So there's no middle. So it's going to be off just a skosh. Unless, of course, I undo that and reselect it and tell it not to stick to the grid, and then we can eyeball it, pop it in there where we want. Okay. So then I'm going to grab the rotate tool and not really sure what that does. Okay, it's not that important though. I was just going to try and align that straight up, but it's not that big a deal. I don't have my heart set on it. So we'll put Mr. Weighty Skeleton. Do we want a map shadow? Oh yeah, that looks so much better with a shadow. Done it. Very cool. Okay, So there's that, and so then on the inside, obviously, I want the floor to be different than the outside because it's not just a box sitting on the ground; it's flooring. So let's see what we've got here as well as what how flooring goes. Now this is going to be kind of interesting. I think we're going to go with this because it's got the mossy crap growing out. It actually that looks like it's outside flooring, like the moss growing up through a sidewalk. So we're not going to go with that. We're going to go something a little more sinister, I believe, like this. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to click. I'm going to stick to the grid. Allow half. I'm going to do that. Go back over here. Get those things selected. There we go. And I'm going to stick to the grid. And I'm going to do that. Very nice. Yes, no, yes. Um, and of course, since I did this like last, it's going to be above almost everything else. So with the move tool selected, I'm going to go over and grab the selection, and I'm going to put it uh, very literally under everything else. Well, maybe not the stones. How about that? Won't put it under the actual ground. So there's our floor. Okay. Then to do this floor, because I've got these weird, you know, angles there and the chamfer of the edge. And, some people say, why are you calling it chamfer? It's camphor. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced chamfer. I'm going to go here and I'm going to do this like that. And I'm going to follow it. And I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning because remember, it's a polygon. Look at that. Isn't that sweet? Very nice. And then for the middle part, what am I going to do here? Well, that's a good question. I'm going to go here to the ellipse. And I'm going to grab this. And I'm going to go here. I believe I started there. And get something that I believe is about that size. And then I'm just going to slide it into place like so. And since it's under everything, then it shows up as such, and it makes it look like a nice little thing there. And remember, right click is the thing. So what I found while doing this was that the um, the controls are very intuitive. Um, they're very uh, it's intuitive. It's just a very intuitive program, and it's you can create a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time. Because um, if you just want a quick thing uh, to throw together, you can slap it together with speed, um, and it's really easy to use if you just give it a few click, look around a little bit, um, and figure out what's going on. It has, if you go up there and click on the hotkeys button, it tells you a list of hotkeys that it has, which to me is that's really cool. And it tells you what mods are available. And you've got Jolly Roger's Atlas, and you've got the Lore Smith, which is there, and for Grim and Inky, and then Jolly Roger's Atlas, the Lore Smith. I will show you the Grim and Inky thing because it's freaking cool. Um, and yeah, sorry if my image covered up some of the stuff that I was showing you there, but um, like yeah, when I'm dragging it all the way under, I didn't realize my shot was there. Anyway, if you want to put in lines, you can put in a line like it's just straight up a line, and there's a line, which is handy. And then you've got splines, which it starts out as a line, and then you click on the second point, and it adds uh, that chamfer or that curve, and it can be either an open line or a closed line. And then with text, uh, uh, you can put the text in. You type the text first, and then you put it in. Um, come on. Uh, so what am I doing here? Yeah, no. Um, okay, let's get this back. Get it back under control. Uh, I hate it when things get away from me like that. I will go over here and I will find it and go here. Excuse me. Ugh. That time filming nap. Um, so you can select a number of fonts. It has Teutonic, Blankenberg, Benographic, Cardinal, Guiana, Nuremberg, Arial, Georgia, Tahoma, and Verdana, which is it's a limited number of fonts, but it's alright. Then we get to the part that is actually one of the cooler features is the tokens. So you can actually enter uh, the adventurers in their little token, like the Arcanist, also known as Gingivitis, the wizard, the Archer, Svet, the Bard, Clervin, Clervin the Bard. Um, oh, and then of course the Berserker. You've got to have the Berserker. Uh, henceforth, his name shall be Percy, um, and so forth. And it's got a pretty decent it's got a pretty decent selection of tokens that you can use and to move about on the map. Now, when you're moving these guys about on the map, may be a good idea to you know keep it sticking to the grid so you know where their marching order is and all that good stuff. So it's incredibly cool. You got a list of green skins, uh, which could be obviously it's maybe their enemies. It maybe their dear loved ones that have come to wish them well. Uh, so you even got the goblin, Bill, Bill the goblin. You've got a giant. He doesn't look like a giant. He's the same size as the rest of them. So yeah, so with all that, you get them selected. And you killed them all with a disintegrate spell. Oh no. Well, or not. Oh no. That would be oh yes. So, um, and then you've got lizards, all these lizards, and a wyvern. And yes, I say wyvern. Why do I call it wyvern? You ask. Do you ask? You ask. So, yeah, it does. Um, yes. So, it does sound like a great plot point. Um, but anyway, I called them wyverns because of the etymology of the word. I am a big fan of etymology, and it also uh, has a strong indication. Um, oh, that wasn't the rotate. That was a flip. That's the rotate. Gosh darn it. Um, so, well, that didn't scale it at all. Anyway, uh, yeah. So I guess the scaling doesn't work on the. Okay, it's the first time I tried that. So um, the word wyvern stems from a language that would have pronounced the Y as an I instead of an I. So going harkening back to that, and you could look it up. You could totally Google the etymology of wyvern and see. And I believe that I am correct in that belief of that pronunciation. Um, but I I don't care all that much. And then you've got other monsters like the evil eye, which we all know what the evil eye is. It's not an evil eye; it's beholder. But they can't say beholder because I think that's that's a trademarked thing. You've got the snake, which anybody can say snake. Spiders, toads. That toad is rather pissed off because he's got an axe and he's going to kill you. The warg, the werewolf, and just a regular wolf, which looks every bit as nasty as the warg. And then the undeads, plural, plural undeads, which the white and the wraith. Whoa, the white and the wraith are just a matter of the amount of sun one of them gets, I think. Then, of course, the skeleton and the skeleton warrior. The warrior has a helm. Then you've got the bloodsucker, which looks startlingly like the whatever they're called in the game Empyrean, that are like the aliens' pets that come after you. If you've ever played Empyrean, it's a good game. I like it. I might stream it because it's pretty cool. And they just came up with an update, another story entirely. But these guys they look mean, so don't piss them off. Uh, so and the tokens are a wonderful facility, which I enjoy them quite tremendously. Now, so I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save it as cleverly map one, and then I'm going to create something new. And yes, this map won't really be lost. Um, the other thing is we have things like let's go to maps and grounds. The Fairy Valley, the Fantasy Fortress. Um, these all have different texture sets that give you um, different options just depending on your tastes and flavors. One of my favorite things is the it's the Grim and Inky, because the Grim and Inky it totally puts up like uh, just like the superest, cartooniest dungeon things. It really takes me back to old school D&D, where you can get like the mausoleum, the crypt and the mausoleum, the castle walls, which don't look much different than the actual floor. So you could go snowblind if you don't wear a special pair of those glasses that have just a little tiny slit in them. And so I really enjoy the grim and inky look because it's just freaking cool. Oh, and the other thing too is if you don't have a color printer or you want to color it in yourself, mayhaps. Whoop! I put the throne on the table. That's not good. Um, and then there's the stairs, the ominous stairs down. Um, plants, black and white plants. There's traps. There's trash and wall decor. So it's very black and white, as you can see, but it's also very cool. So I enjoy it tremendously. Um, so there's the grim and inky stuff, and I'm gonna get rid of that just for getting rid of its sake. And then, of course, Loresmith has a different set of stuff, a different set of tools, which as you can see, is it's almost like the Dwarven Forge uh, company. They have those cast resin uh, parts that you put together in 3 dimensions, and this is like that, only not only in 2 dimensions. Um, old school D&D is just straight up floor, straight up symbols. Yeah. Uh, the overland map gives you just these hand drawn looking, and probably were hand drawn things that you can when the players find a map, this is totally it. Um, then the X pencil and stairs uh, gives you that. But one of my favorite things is the Jolly Rogers Atlas. It is so colorful and so cool that I got to show you this. So we'll start out with a large uh, body of water, and we'll go with C, and go with a large section of the ocean, and then let's uh, let's let's put an island on there with that same look. Okay, and let's see. Let's select that. Let's see what it looks like with a. Okay, pretty cool. Think medium, long shadow, short shadow. I like the medium. Okay, so with a medium shadow, we've got that, and then we'll go here to the objects. Now, the objects in this, because it's an atlas, the objects just happen to be um, stuff for imagine that. the objects just happen to be like the things that you would find on an overland map, like an encampment or uh, the ever popular Cursed City. We'll put the Cursed City over here. We'll give it a nice little shadow. It just depends on how much you want it to stand out, honestly. Um, and there are more features. Lands, imagine. Um, so I'm going to go with some peaks to separate the cursed city from the camp. Now, in this case, and I've given this advice from campaign cartographer use, is that when you're laying down rows of mountains that overlap, if you don't want it to look um, well silly, for example, if you want it to look more realistic, you always put the stuff in front last. So you start with the stuff farthest in the back. Otherwise, if you do that, well, that tessellates pretty well. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so yeah, no, never mind. Well, this is actually really well made because normally when you have something that's in front and let's get rid of that grid thing. Um, okay, I'm actually pretty impressed about that because these go wherever you put them, and they look very naturally where you've put them. So okay, more high marks for this. So let's get rid of those, and let's see what else I got here. Stronghold. Okay, we'll go back to the objects, get the stronghold. So in order to get, oh, that's what I was talking about, right there. Um, Notice how the stronghold looks like the mountain is over it. So we'll just take and we'll put them over the peaks until we find the proper one, which is that one. And you can see that when you've got it, when you have it selected and you're dragging it about, it shows you what is actually it's dragging over. So see, I put it over that one because that's the one that you see how that selection marquee pops up. Okay, and I want it to be over that one so the foot of this mountain doesn't like belch into the stronghold. And so now when our adventurers go there, uh, they will encounter the stronghold. If they do encounter the stronghold, little compass rose would be nice. Yeah. Um, when they do encounter the stronghold, then they'll be able to be forewarned, right? Everybody that's gone there has never come back because apparently they're southern or from the hills. Um, and we'll put in some foresty stuff. That's what I'm talking about right there. Um, you put the stuff that's going to be uh, in front last So it doesn't look like this tree here is growing out of the top of that one. You know, this one looks like it's under it. So you can either do that or do it right first time, and you won't have to replace it. So that is a look at all these guys. And then we got the main, which is a little more cartoony, but or a little less cartoony. I don't know. Take your pick. They do kind of go in together because you know that city looks different, right? And so it just depends on your proclivities. Now, if we wanted to put in there's the hand painted. We wanted to put in, you know, you got to cross, you have to cross the bridge. We'll put in a bridge. And they're like, but why do we have to cross the bridge? There's no river, is there? Well, there will be, because I'm going to go here and I'm going to grab the terrain and I'm going to paint in a nice little river that runs, probably comes down out of the mountain. And is that too big? That's a big freaking river. It's going to be a tiny little river. It's going to come down out of here and it runs this way. And then it also runs this way. No, stop. Um, let's get it to where I can actually see it, shall we? Okay, the river runs through it. And then it goes this way, comes around here, and it essentially cuts the island in half because it's a treacherous river, right? And then, you know, we've got this whole problem with our object bridge and this is our object water. Notice when I click on that, it goes back and forth. It shows which layer the object bridge is and which layer the brush water lake is. So I click on that and I pull it up over, and now our bridge is in the right place. And I'll even move it a little bit so it looks like it's in the right place. So there you go. And you got yourself a nice little river. And that is Svagnor Island. And nice little adventure right off the bat. And so this this program has proven to be one of the easiest and most intuitive paint programs that I've ever really seen for gaming purposes, and I'm very impressed with it, and I'm very happy with it. It's a fantastic thing. So I'm going to give this one 5 axes because it looks good. It's not very expensive right now. I think it's like $15. It's in beta, so I mean it's an early access program, so you know that it's only going to get better, which is awesome. It's on Steam. It's available on Steam. You just look for Dungeon Painter Studio, and it's to me it's one of the coolest tools ever. Um, if they hadn't given me a copy, I would have bought it for sure. And I think that I think it's a good buy. I think it's a good deal. I think it's a good buy. So Dungeon Painter Studio, look it up on Steam. Okay, and let's see. I will actually look it up on Steam myself so I can tell you where to go to get it. Um, and it's Dungeon Painter Studio, and it is oh, okay, it's pyromancers.com. But if you just do a search on Dungeon Painter Studio on Steam, it'll take you right to it. And super easy to use, super good program. I highly recommend it, and I think it's well worth the money. So that is my review of Dungeon Painter Studio from pyromancers.com. Uh, Check them out and tell them I sent you, and there you have it. So, on that note, I'm going to continue making maps in secret. And on behalf of the entire cast and crew of the Dwarven Tavern, which is all of us, Tavernier Vice President Lyric, and Tavernier Ian, and Lisa, and Josh, we all wish for you to want for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it, then I charged. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.